from the Countercultured blog. I'm very pleased to have with us once again Gabriella Hoffman. Gabby, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me. Nice to speak with you again.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And listen, I want to talk about your blog post,
Sure.
Dear Fellow Females, Firearms, Not Rape Whistles, Best Deter Criminals. But I've got to ask you about this story. I don't know if you've seen it in the Washington Post. Both sides of gun control issue turn to women as mouthpieces and as symbols. And they say there are two female archetypes emerging, they say. I'm sorry to say, Gabby, by the way, you don't fit into either category. You are not an archetype. You are an individual, a proud individual. The Washington Post, Philip Rucker says there's the grieving mother whose child died in a shooting and whose pleas for stricter regulation seem unassailable. And there's the flinty mother who wants maximum firepower to take matters into her own hands in protecting her brood. But again, as I said, the Washington Post gets this wrong. There are also women like yourself. You're not a mom, are you, Gabby?
No, I'm 21, so no.
And yet, you too are passionately standing up for the right to keep and bear arms, and you love children, and you want to see this country have a safe society. But
absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but not by the means that Democrats and leftists define it. And I mean, the reason why, what draws me so much to being supportive of gun rights, I've gone shooting on numerous occasions. It's a lot of fun. You're in a contained area. It's very safe. You have people who help you out there. I actually just went on, I mentioned in my article that I went shooting in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's a lot of fun shooting from guns. I mean, we're all really disciplined in how we go about shooting. We're not going to be lawless and aiming, all over the place. We try to practice and do responsible gun ownership. That's what we do as law-abiding, constitutionalist gun owners and gun users. That's what we should be doing.
Well, yeah, and so, you write this piece about firearms, not rape whistles, best deter criminals. This is one of the arguments now that that women's voices are emerging on both sides. You're now starting to hear pushback from gun control advocates telling you, Gabby, you shouldn't own a gun. You're going to put yourself more at risk by owning a gun. It could get taken from you. It could be used against you. Better you have non-lethal means. Better you have a cell phone. Better you have a rape whistle. Better you have a tongue depressor than a firearm with which to defend yourself.
Yeah, when I hear ridiculous claims like this, I'm often reminded of the people who deprived my relatives in the Soviet Union the right to bear arms and other freedoms. So I guess this would be a reaction to these comments, and I guess a personal affront to discourage this type of, advice, because when my family endured so much and they didn't have this basic freedom to defend themselves, you wouldn't see all these atrocities. And studies have shown time and time again that in countries and nations heavily ridden with tyrannical regimes, you see the most mass murders, you see the most tyrannical systems in place. Gun control obviously is not effective. Studies show that, cases show that, Chicago's ineffective policies obviously show that too. And just, all we can do as women, young women who are independently minded and want to freely exercise all their rights, we have to defy the left's narrative about us being weak in being capable of handling guns, and just continue exercising the right to bear arms.
Well, yeah, and you say screaming can sometimes be effective. But instead of just making noise, you'd be doing much more constructive things. I mean, we saw the DHS video that, came out and said, well, you may want to defend yourself if somebody is attacking you. And if so, use whatever you have available, like a pair of scissors, or maybe throw a pin at them. Here's my take is, look, if you're acknowledging the reality that, people are going to want to defend themselves if they're attacked, well, then acknowledge that people have the right to defend themselves with the most effective tool. Yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, the left likes to shield the truth. They're really good at revisionist history, and they're good at hiding and concealing facts. And we have to, as conservatives and people who admire and respect and observe the Second Amendment, to show that the most effective and only certain means to properly defend yourself against all forms of tyranny, that's what the Second Amendment is there to shield off any form of tyranny, is to properly pick up firearms and learn how to properly use them in the case of attack, rape, and other instances that pose a great danger to our livelihood. So we have to do all in our power to dissect their narrative and to counter their false campaigns and assaults on gun rights.
Talking with Gabriella Hoffman from the Countercultured blog. And, Gabby, what are you hearing from women your age? Do you get a lot of pushback, or do you get more positive responses, again, from young women than you were thinking you would?
I mean, majority of my gal pals, you've had Celia Bigelow go on. She went on Hannity last Friday to point out the ridiculousness that is involved in using scissors to defend yourself. And, I have Liz Thatcher and my sister and plenty of other girls, Regis Giles. I don't know if you've had her on, but a lot of conservative-minded females believe that proper gun ownership, exercising the Second Amendment, is the best way to really elevate yourself as a woman, as a young woman who wants to champion life, champion prosperity, and all the great elements that have been, enumerated by the Declaration of Independence and also our Constitution. So many young females, I guess, are inclining themselves more to gun rights. I would say the whole gun control perspective among women is a losing thing because more women are concerned about their livelihood, about protecting their children, and just feeling safe overall. And they realize that this radical feminist notion that relying on the government for every security is largely ineffective. So they're resorting to actual independent means, say, taking up gun ownership to properly defend themselves. And I would say there's a growing trend among young females, late teens to mid-20s, wanting to pursue any firearms courses. And there are plenty of polls that show that more young Americans, men and female, are inclining themselves to firearms ownership.
Gabby, it strikes me that this probably actually, we probably see evidence of this outside of the gun debate. It seems to me like there's, among young women, and I would say more young women than young men, there is almost a DIY mentality, Etsy, and being able to do things yourself, whether it's, getting into knitting, whether it's getting into, all kinds of really cool crafts and just, things that you can do. Women are out there pushing themselves, it seems, a lot more, frankly, than young men who seem to say, oh, we can play the new Xbox game. And I wonder if this mentality, look, when you are empowering yourself, when you're trying these new things and you're succeeding at them, then maybe the idea of being able to be responsible for your own protection, your own safety, all of a sudden doesn't seem that scary.
Absolutely. Growing up under the household that I grew up under, my parents instilled in me the idea of self-reliance. We always grew up camping, hunting, fishing. We did mushroom hunting, deep sea water fishing, saltwater fishing, freshwater fishing, all these outdoor activities. So we, from a young age, overcame all these ridiculous fears of being afraid of our environment and have taken up all these wonderful outdoor activities and other, activities that bolster, our brains, our thoughts, our cognition, our mind. So we always want to, keep that curiosity alive. And that's what, as a recent, newly practicing gun owner, because I couldn't freely practice guns or go shooting in California. We have terrible gun laws. But now that I'm a Virginia resident, I'm able to rightfully exercise my right to bear arms. And so, as someone who's recently gotten into this, young females should continue to explore it and do other activities. Fishing is wonderful. It's not gross. It's not manly. It's just a fun activity you can do, and it teaches you patience. And I would hope that more young men do incline themselves to more active activities rather than just simply playing video games or wasting their lives away. Both genders have to work on being better, as a whole. But no, fishing, hunting, all those outdoorsy sports that are affiliated with the Second Amendment only strengthen your brain. They don't stifle your brain.
That's awesome. Gabriella, thank you so much for coming on the program today. It's great talking to you.
Absolutely. Always a delight coming on. Thank you so much for having me, Cam.